The following clip is from a Patreon exclusive. To see the full video and many more, go to patreon.com/GERIMI and become a subscriber.
And I'm erasing this the bone here because I realize as I'm looking, much like humans where we have a radius and an ulna, the raven has the larger bone, the ulna, and then they have the radius, which rotates around. But I noticed that, interestingly enough, its ulna is near the top. It's the outer part of the wing. The wing that's closer to the front is actually the smaller bone. The thicker bone is here. And then that whole long part, basically we're looking at, on humans, we've got our upper arm, which is the humerus. Then we've got the radius and ulna. So this whole part of the wing from here back, let me just undo that. From here back, the bone part, those are its fingers. Those are its long-assed fingers. Where I guess really half of it is the palm. And it's so interesting how the comparative anatomy is similar between most animals, how they have some form of a wrist bone, fingers, palms, regardless of, I haven't looked at sea creature anatomy. Fish anatomy might also be something to look at, but there's a lot. There's just a lot. There's so much to learn from studying animals. If I keep putting on different topics, we'll never get through anything, so we'll just be chasing our tails. So just getting into wrapping up here, the pelvis, it has a pelvis. It has a tail bone, aside from the tail feathers that stick out. And that kind of projects behind the place in the hips. So you've got the hips. It has a femur, and the femur comes out front, very close to the torso. Now, I'm sure that it moves around and it just is buried within feathers. But the part that we see that where it goes backwards, I was actually wrong when I was referring to that back part as the knee. Well, wait a minute. Let me look at, yeah, I was wrong, because the knee is at the end of the femur. So the knee is actually way up here, much like horses and other animals. Its knee is way up front. Then you come back here. The bone that we're actually looking at here, where there's this bend, that's the ankle. So I'm learning about animal anatomy right along with you guys. I'm learning that birds, just like horses and other mammals, they have ankles. It's not that its ankle is facing backwards. Its knee is facing the right direction. What we're looking at back here, to be specific, I'll put in a little arrow. Ankle. And then on this chart here, it calls these the first metatarsals. So the metatarsals are just like the metacarpals in the hand. So this whole structure that's sticking down is the foot. And then really the place where its foot is resting, what we think of it as its palm, those are basically like its knuckles that are actually resting on the ground. And then the fingers are sticking out from there. So that is something I did not know. And I'm going to draw on top of this again. So there's this whole thigh that's up here. Kneecap. Lower leg. So that's all. When we talk about structures that are buried underneath the feathers, these are things that it's important to know that they are there. But I wouldn't have known this if I hadn't sat down and done this study. And this is the point of all of these studies, is to sit there and understand these things that are going on below the surface, so that when you're drawing on your own and you're doing imaginative drawings, where you're making up characters, drawing them in poses that you don't have the reference for, you understand what's happened to the structure so that you will make the bones, you'll make the joints bend in the right directions at the right places. So I can just quickly throw the skull in there. I'm not going to go into really any detail because we've already done a detail of the skull. Just giving it its long beak there. Yeah, for this part, I don't necessarily need to go into much, but I do find it interesting when I'm looking at this neck. I'm curious how this neck, how those bones would be attaching in the spine. I'm wondering whether this is making an S that we just don't see there, or whether it's straightened out. Because it looks like it has its neck really straightened out there, and it's screaming at whoever it's screaming at. Meaning I feel like what we're looking at is a very, very foreshortened neck, and that its neck is actually stretched out very long. And we probably can't see, because these neck feathers are flared out, what's probably happening is the head is ending here, and then what we're looking at is neck, like, the vertebrae of the neck going back in extreme foreshortening to connect to the body. So what we're probably looking at from a profile is, here's that egg, and the head is probably all the way out here, and this neck is probably stretched. I mean, it's probably got a nice bow to it because that seems to be how the body flows. Stretch, 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 stretch. And all of that is being hidden by these. A, we're looking at a foreshortened angle, and B, those neck muscles are flared out. That is what appears to be happening. Not neck muscles, neck feathers. Those neck feathers appear to be flared out. That appears to be what's happening to me in this top photo. So I wouldn't be able to tell unless I got a profile of that exact shot. But let's see here.